Hello, busy dads and busy people everywhere. Welcome to episode 2 of the new season of the Busy Dad podcast. In today's episode, I sit down with a fellow practitioner of the Busy Dad program, a man by the name of Margo. Margo is someone that I have been working with one-to-one for some time now, and his ascent through the program has been close to meteoric. He is a level 4 6-count practitioner. He's just touching level 4 with his SEALs. And I thought that it would be very beneficial for people to hear from him. Margo has been my student for some time, and I hope that he has learnt something from me. But what I can say for sure is that I have learnt a lot from him and benefited from his presence. I think that all of you will feel there's a certain calm, grounded authoritativeness in the way that Margo speaks about training, speaks about life. His presence conveys a person who has resolved certain questions, certain fundamental questions for himself, and found a kind of clarity and peace. And I think that it's edifying to be in the presence of somebody like that. So I wanted to share that conversation with all of you. Margo talks about how a conversation with his wife fundamentally reoriented his attitude towards training, towards nutrition, towards the toxins he had been putting in his body in his youth, and ushered in a new period of rigor, of discipline that has pervaded his household. He depicts a house full of active children doing jiu-jitsu training, the family eating well together, and I find that he's just an inspiring person to be around. So this is a brief conversation that Margo and I had at the culmination of our work together. Perhaps Margo and I will continue as we try to get him all the way to graduation. But be that as it may, it felt fitting that we were able to have this conversation at the culmination of about 4 months of working together. It was great working with Margo. It was great talking with him, learning a little bit more about his life. And I hope that this short but sweet conversation will inspire some of you. So my friends, I give you Margo. Welcome to the Busy Dad podcast, Margo. It is fantastic to have you on board. And I thought that we could begin, as we often do, by you saying some words to introduce yourselves to the listeners. I'd love you to tell your sort of life story through a training lens up to, but not including the point that you discovered burpee training. Let's get a sense of just your relationship with physical training throughout your life up until the point that you became a practitioner.
Thank you for having me. It's a really pleasure to be here. And I would have never thought to be here, to be honest. So I'm originally from Estonia, and growing up there, obviously, we had lots of snow. I'm from the southern part as well, where we had cross-country skiing. So I did, as a child, I did cross-country skiing a lot, and I miss it here. There's no snow in UK, so I really miss the snow. But after like around teenage, exercising went off. So started drinking, drugs, all that stuff, until I became parent. Then around 2010, and so I gave up drinking, smoking, everything else, and eventually, like 2015, in the middle part, no exercise, nothing at all. So childhood, I was exercising, doing cross-country skiing, and then later on, after the children, my wife, put me on spot, like, how you gonna show up to your children? Do you want them to see you drunk and having hangover, or you wanna be a role model?
Yeah.
That clicked.
That clicked. Let's stop. Let's pause the story just there, Margo, because that's so inspiring to me, and I can relate to it so clearly. So clearly, I had a similar click. So 2010, you changed your lifestyle in a pretty radical way. You stopped smoking, you stopped drinking, and that was in the context of parenthood. What was it you think that, I mean, what was it about that experience of parenthood that made it click for you, that you had to part company with those ways of living?
Um, it, it wasn't parenthood. It just was the way my wife talked to me, the way she approached it. Because she's from a family where parents weren't drinking, no smoking, like
Mm,
normal family. Um, and she didn't tolerate at all drinking and everything, especially after we became parents. And she put me on spot, like, you know, you carry on your own or you stop and we go together, and
mm,
as the parenthood, um, I really was caring about my newborn boy. And then, that made me think, like, I can't be doing this anymore. I need to stop it. Obviously, I didn't do it overnight, step by step, in the following couple of years. And it's just the way she said, I cared about her. I care about her. And that made me change.
mm. There's something about feeling that you are respected in the eyes of someone that you respect and care about that is such a priceless feeling.
Yes.
Um, uh, and so you said it took a couple of years to part company with alcohol. How long now since you've had a drink?
Um, I mean, I've maybe a couple of years,
Right,
no
right.
alcohol at all.
Hmm. But you sort
But
of,
in the
yeah,
glass of wine or
I
bottle of
see,
beer in the
I see.
meantime.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, not like drinking to blackout. So
And it sounds like me, you had a history of drinking pretty heavily.
yeah.
And so, because there certainly was a time in my life where the pain of trying to drink one glass of wine was almost unbearable. I wanted to drink 10. Um,
Hmm.
how is it that you're able to have one glass of wine, a few years ago when you were doing that, and not feel like you had to drink more?
It's it's obviously conditioning your body differently. I have now over the time conditioned myself to the point where when I to the complete opposite, when I have one or I have a sip, I feel I feel like bad, not in a sense like, well, I've done something wrong, but just my body starts reacting
Yeah,
to the alcohol. I don't feel good,
yeah,
uh, what it does in my body.
yeah,
um,
right.
and and I think this is over the years I've conditioned my body or myself to the opposite. Now I don't, touch it anymore. I don't have, because there was points where you're like, I'm gonna have one. If I have one, I'm gonna have five and others.
Yeah,
And but that's gone now, and it's so freeing. This feeling, you can go meet your friends in the pub or whatever, visit them, and people having drinks around, and you feel calm, not anxious that you're not drinking, or people offering you, and I don't feel bad saying no, or it's just I don't care.
yeah.
It's freeing.
It is. It's so liberating. I just always love hearing people who have had a similar experience of liberation to me. Um, People for whom it's also kind of effortless. Um, I often thought that giving up alcohol would be this daily challenge for my willpower, and there's no willpower involved at all. As you say, you condition your body, your spirit to just recognize alcohol as something foreign that the whole system kind of rejects. And
Yeah.
then at that point, it has no pull on you. And then if you're around your good friends and they're drinking and getting smashed, you can jump in and get, you know, enjoy the experience and the social elements of it without feeling like there's any temptation. Okay. Um, I interrupted you. You were telling us the story of training. So it sounds like cross-country skiing growing up, a period in the wilderness in your 20s, and then your wife kind of confronts you about your ways of living. Part of that confrontation is a call for you to start training. Um, Talk to us then about how you began your sort of relationship with physical training as an adult.
That was on and off. I discovered kettlebells,
Hmm.
and I started exercising with kettlebells. Firstly, uh, going into classes, taking kettlebell classes, and the program was strong first. If you heard about it, it's very interesting. Anyway, um, and I started doing that regularly. Then I bought some MMA mats. I built out a room at home, made it into gym. So bought some kettlebells and I did it at home. Um, and that was like a period of 5 years up to till I found burpees. And it was on and off. So I did like, let's say 6 weeks. I followed a exercise program, which I bought online program, did the exercises, stretching, everything. But it demanded hour minimum and on average like hour and a half, sometimes even hour and 40 minutes exercise session with stretches, the workout itself, and then cool off afterwards, and that was like 6 days a week. I did it. Some days, lighter days, like there was like a metabolic conditioning day, and then next day was strength day where you build muscles with kettlebells. And all this was like a on and off period where like 6 weeks I was doing the program, and after the 6 weeks, like, what am I gonna do? Okay, I'll start the program again. I did it again, like week, and then I fall off. I was off like sometimes a month, sometimes 2 months, sometimes 3 months. And eventually up to the point where I started burpees, I was off exercising nearly a year. So I knew at the back of my mind that I need to get back on it. I need to get back on doing exercise because I started feeling my body is weak, sluggish, and I wanted to get back on. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, so that's really interesting that it sounds like when you were locked into that 6 week progression, it was very motivating. But
yes,
then there's this experience you get through the 6 weeks, and it's like, ugh, what do I just start again? And something about that experience of retracing old ground and just doing the same workouts again, feeling like you've just reset the same goals, um, that was quite demotivating. That while you were
yes,
chasing a goal, it was great, but when you felt like you had to um, just repeat the entire process, it sort of sucked the joy out of it for you.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. And then, so you had this year of getting sluggish and losing your kind of conditioning. And at a certain point, you realized you had to find a solution. You had to solve the exercise question for yourself. Because it's a
Hmm.
question we all have to find an answer to. I mean, and effectively, if you spend your life not training, I mean, that's your answer. I mean, that's how you solve the question. You just didn't train. But anyone who has trained seriously at any point in their lives will have that voice in the back of their head. Will have
Hmm.
that feeling that there's something just deeply suboptimal about a life without physical endeavor and training. Was there any moment um, that you can pinpoint that kind of brought this feeling to the fore where you just said, I can't go on like this, I've got to find a way of training? Or was it just a kind of more like a gradual dawning sense?
No, it was always since I stopped for the last time. It was always like in the back of mind. I need to get back on it. I need to get started again. Um, as the weeks went by, some weeks went by without thinking about it. Other weeks, I was thinking every day what I'm gonna do. I was looking some options, and I even said to myself, tomorrow I will start, and I didn't start. Tomorrow came, I didn't start. And then, that goes on and on, and then following week I'll start Monday. Monday came, I didn't start, and it was like that. Um, it wasn't like specific, but it was the thought was always at the back of my mind.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the kind of state where you can really be vulnerable to this paralysis by analysis, where
Mm.
every weekend you write yourself a new workout plan and then you don't start it and then you tinker with it and then you watch loads of YouTube channels and you become a kind of um, an authority on all of the different exercise regimens out there without actually doing any training. Um, how did you discover the Busy Dad program?
So this is a funny story. Um, whilst I was doing my kettlebells, I think it may be like 2022 or 2023, somewhere there. Um, I was looking something for my boys to exercise, something simple, because they at the time they were doing BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, only twice a week. So I wanted for them to have something extra doing within the week. And I was just put it in like I don't know, like 20-minute workout or something. I put it in on YouTube, and your video popped up. I was watching, looking, and then I said, "Come on, boys, come here. Look at this crazy guy. He's doing burpees, you know." It was the 250 six counts in sets of fives, that
Yeah,
video. And I was, oh, that looks really good. It's only 20 minutes. It's very simple exercise. My boys can do it. I said to them, you can do it. It's only 20 minutes. Come on. It's really good exercise for you. Um, and they said, they were laughing and walked off. But I really liked it, and you were like, it seemed like very fast pace, 250. And I thought this is crazy. And I watched other of your videos, and I left it there. So I thought I want to try this one day, but I was still doing committed to my kettlebell exercises. And then, I was off almost a year, and there was the point where I suddenly remembered, oh, this guy did burpees. Maybe I start with that because it's simple, only 20 minutes. I can
yeah,
fit it in my day. Because one of the biggest thing that was stopping me doing my kettlebells again was the time. It required like hour and a half. And I didn't feel like committing to it. So only 20 minutes, simple exercise. Um, what if I try it? I'll try this for a week and get myself going into the exercise routine, and then I'll carry on with my kettlebells. So I started 2024 January. I started doing the follow alongs, and I don't know, here I am, year and nearly half later, still doing them.
that's
Um,
amazing. So you had that week. What happened after that? You just kept coming back.
yeah, yeah, I just kept coming back. I don't know, I didn't, there wasn't any other thought
Yeah,
that I'll start doing anything else,
yeah,
or I'll go back now to my kettlebells, because it was motivating, exciting, um, short, and within that first week, I felt the effectiveness of
yeah,
the program.
yeah. Um,
Um, so that's what kept me going.
Sometimes the way that I will sell this program to people is by talking about, the fact that it's such a minimal time investment. I will talk about the fact that it's a great stimulus for your body and it has these great effects. But something that you just said that I wanted to pick up on is that the workouts were exciting. A lot of people come back to me and say, all you do is burpees. It must be so boring. What's been your experience with that?
Um, I've Yes, what you said, I've read as well on comments that it's people say it's boring, but it never felt boring for me. I don't know why. It's just I think it's because you feel within the week, the first week you're doing them. So let's say nearly four sessions, you feel the improvement in yourself, your physical, also mental, and that is the thing that pulls you back to these exercises. It's like convinces you that this works.
Mm, for me as well, the fact that I'm always chasing a new number. I'm very often playing around with strategy within the 20 minutes. It means that the workouts never feel the same. No two workouts feel the same. I've done hundreds
No.
of these sessions, and each one of them I remember as its own distinctive session. So, okay, so you begin the practice January 2024,
Yeah.
and you've been consistent throughout. Have you missed any sessions?
I've been consistent all the way through, only being off because of ill or sick.
Mm-hmm.
So catching a cold or something. So one, two, maybe 4 times for a week being off
Okay.
over this
Yeah.
year and a half period.
Good.
But otherwise, yeah, I've been consistent.
Good.
Initially, when I started, I didn't have like routine.
Mm-hmm.
I did like sometimes in the morning, sometimes lunchtime, sometimes in the evening, and that little bit messed up. I had much more of resistance of not exercising because of the mismatch, all day long. Once I changed, made the decision and committed that I'll block out time in the morning. I'll wake up earlier. I'll get myself ready and do the 20 minutes in the morning every time.
Yeah.
That changed. The resistance is less, and it's more easier to stick to it. You have specific routine. I know Monday morning I'm exercising. I know Tuesday morning I'm exercising. Wednesday's day off. Thursday, Friday I'm exercising. So it's routine and it's on the paper. You do it. There's no excuse.
Absolutely.
So that changed. I mean, for the people who experiencing resistance in that terms, if you make a definite decision where you're going to exercise, whatever is best suits you, then I'm sure that will help with the resistance and follow through your actions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk about your progress within the program. Where were you when you started? When you tested in, what were your numbers? Do you remember?
I think I tested in with 150, but I couldn't do it with 6 counts. And then for the next time, 6 counts, I did 100, which I completed, and then I started progressing from there. And for the Navy SEALs, I tried to test in with 60, and I couldn't do it. Then I went down to 50, I think.
Yep.
And then started going up from there. So
very
that's where
similar, very, very similar starting points to me. I remember thinking that it would be pretty easy to do a 4 rep every minute on the minute with the SEALs, and I lasted about 4 minutes. And thinking I could breeze through 200 and coming out with like 123 or something. Okay, so that was we're talking kind of 16 months ago, and you've been training consistently since then. Where are you at now?
Now my PR with 6 counts is 290.
Yep.
And Navy SEALs is 115.
Yeah, and I think I'm hoping that we're going to be unlocking level 4. Well, you're going to be unlocking level 4 across the board next week with the 1-day effort.
Yes.
Very, very impressive. And I have the feeling when we're meeting together that I'm talking to something of an equal as a practitioner. I mean, I'm deeper into the game than you are. You've got 3.5 years to catch up with me fully, but it's been remarkable seeing how quickly you've progressed since we started working together. I mean, it seems like this last kind of 4 months that we've been working together has been a really good period in your training history. You know, when you came to me, you were struggling with 100 seals and the form was decaying across the workout. I can't remember where you were with 6 counts, but sort of level 3 territory.
Yes.
What have you found the benefits to be of having a coach in your corner?
Accountability. Definitely accountability.
Yeah.
Someone there to guide you.
Yeah.
And I mean, with mentorship, we need accountability. So I think that's been the biggest part for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I'm training these days, in a sense, of course, the entire audience who are watching the YouTube channel is in the room with me. They're watching, but there's also a kind of an elite group of practitioners that I work with, all of you guys, where you're really in the room with me. Like, I'm really thinking to myself, what would Margo say if I pulled out now? What would Miles say if I pulled out now? What would Alex say if I pulled out now? And for all of my guys, what kind of example would this set for them? I think that there's of course accountability. There's also the sense of not just accountability after the fact. Yes, I did the workout, but accountability during the workout. You know, I have this standard that I have to meet throughout the workout. That's I think something that is really powerful. We are coming up against time limits, and I want people to get a sense of, you know, your trajectory through the program has been very impressive. A lot of people who test in where you are not touching level 4 within 16 months. Some of the things that you've done that I think have propelled you, I mean, clearly not drinking is an absolute win, a power move for anyone who wants to take training seriously. But you're also someone who thinks very hard about nutrition and diet. Maybe you could share with people a sense of your approach to nutrition.
Yes. So definitely no highly processed foods. I think if you cook yourself, even if you cannot get the best quality, like organic or whatever biodynamic produce, self-cooked food is still better than you ready-made food, because in what's highly processed ready-made, they add all sorts of stuff which make them last longer on the shelf for obvious reasons, but it's not necessarily good for your body. The body doesn't know how to process all the additional stuff in there. So yes, self-made food, high protein. I eat red meat, eggs, cheese, vegetables. So yeah.
And what about, so that's the sort of, talk to me.
That's since I started working with you. Before that, I didn't put emphasis on nutrition. And since I started working with you, you said, okay, let's do some nutrition stuff as well. And I've lost 7 kilos so far. So by cutting calories, and my performance went up as well because of it.
Yeah.
So it's if you know, if people who are listening, if you're stuck somewhere, hit the plateau, and you're not putting emphasis on your diet, you may want to have a look at it.
Absolutely.
That will improve, definitely.
Very often, there's not anything you can do differently within the 80 minutes. The way to get better at burpees isn't by doing more burpees. It's about by changing the supporting practices that help you in your practice.
Yes.
I really love imagining the culture at your home where all of the food is cooked from scratch. The boys are doing jujitsu. Hopefully they're doing some burpees as well. The father is an excellent role model around physical culture and training. It's a really wonderful, inspiring picture, Margo, and it's also impressive the changes that you've brought about in your life. What would be some words that you have to people who are listening to this podcast and they're kind of where you were? They've got that vague feeling that they need to create a training practice. They don't know what they should do. They're considering getting started with the program, but they haven't quite yet got off the fence. What would your words be to them?
Try it. Try for a week. Commit yourself to the program and do it. Just do it.
Wonderful. I wish well, I'm going to get a brief recording, a clip of that, and just play it to myself. Your voice and your words have a kind of gravity to them, a kind of authority. So listen, let's get you back on the podcast when you are approaching graduation numbers. Really, really grateful to you for sharing your time. It's wonderful always to speak to you. I have the sense that I'm dealing with someone who is seriously committed to the craft and the practice of burpees. You're still early in your journey with this program.
Yeah.
I cannot wait till you're wearing the black t-shirt. But Margo, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to having you on again before too long.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.
Wonderful.